So the agenda for this presentation, I'll have a couple questions for you. We'll want to review the enterprise reporting options for Microsoft PPM, whether it's Project Online or Project Server on-premise. The main problem that I've encountered in my experiences with Microsoft implementations, PPM implementations. Then we're going to do a deep dive demo showing an example of how to identify poor data and provide guidance to resolve. And we'll also discuss tips, keeping things simple and accurate. We'll talk about the takeaways, and we'll go over questions and discussions. But as Daniel said, we invite questions as we go. Anything that you have, bring it up. So the first question, I know we have a couple of you that are using Project Online. How about a raise of hands of if your organization is using Project Server now or Project Online now? Number of hands? Okay. So about a third of you raise your hands. If you raise your hands, how many of you feel that your PPM data is accurate enough to make business decisions? And by business decisions, I'm talking about resource demand and capacity. Would you hire people and train people based on your resource forecasting? Or would you be comfortable in adding a new project to the portfolio based on the current schedule of projects? Anybody feel comfortable with the quality of data that we have now? Go ahead. Question.
Not so much about accuracy. I think we're just too early on from a maturity standpoint. So
yes.
The completeness or the progress we've made so far, it's not about accuracy at this point. But
okay.
I don't think we'd be able to make this.
Okay. Yeah, I think this dovetails with data accuracy, dovetails with project maturity. And that's the demo that I want to show you today. What do the project managers need to focus on to make sure that their project is meeting the PMO standards, for one, and is reflecting data that is high enough quality that business decisions can be made? So I didn't see any hands come up on that. Let's talk now about the reporting options for Microsoft PPM. So you're seeing here the Magic Quadrant from Gartner. It is as of February 2016, and you see that Microsoft is among the leaders with the BI platform. And there's a good reason that it's at the top, because we have a lot of reporting options, a lot of reporting tools that we can use in Project Server and Project Online to visualize the data. From a dashboard report, you can drill down to another report. It can be a dashboard itself, or it can be an individual report. You can also render a Gantt chart report in Power BI, and you can include that with other tiles and other areas in the report. So very cool features, and you don't need to be a report developer and know how to do all the SQL to render these reports. So you use Power BI when you want to set up a scheduled refresh for your Excel workbooks. You can do that through Power BI. You can view and use through your browser larger workbooks up to 250 megabytes in Power BI sites now. So this is on the BI service side on Power BI for Office 365. Also, you can use natural language queries to find and explore data using the Power BI Q&A. So you can say to Power BI, show me the number of projects that are active right now, and it'll render a report and account if you have set it up that way. So it's pretty cool for users. You can share and manage queries and data sources, access on-premise data from the cloud, and download the Power BI. This is for Windows tablets, so the Windows Store app to view workbook content on your Windows tablets. Key considerations. So Power BI is available by subscription as an add-on or a standalone service in the cloud. And the BI service right now is not available on premise. And it provides an infrastructure to set up connections so that you can connect to on-premise data and render that data in Power BI. So key one, and this is going to be the focus of our attention in the demo today, is SSRS reports. It has the most powerful functionality of the BI suite. For example, I almost always make project status reports that are available on demand. So for those project managers that are taking 2 hours every week to report their time, have a project status dashboard that will pull real-time information into report. What you need to do is work with your team and go through the weekly process so you know that the PWA information is correct and up to date. Then that report is available on demand. Take 30 seconds, render the report. You might export it to Excel, or you might export it by subscription via email to a distribution list. So much of what I'm talking about today is about saving admin time, and with a special focus on the PMs, because so much burden of the work is on the PMs. So the SSRS, you can have your resource heat map report by role, showing utilization, resource demand and capacity reports are always important. And if you need to, you're seeing overview data in this report. Maybe you want to drill down into an individual resource and see resource demand and capacity. What are they working on in the next 3 months or 6 months? And you can do so many things in SSRS that are useful. So use SSRS report. I use the report designer in Visual Studio, and that means that I'm really unlimited on the things that I can do with my report. I can access data from multiple sources, and I can define color coding for my reports and that kind of thing, and then publish those reports up to Project Web App. So typically, the report designer in Visual Studio is going to be used by the IT professionals and developers. But there's also the report builder. And have any of you used the report builder here? So one, report builder is great for the PMO power users. And I'm going to show you a detailed example of how you in the PMO, without having knowledge about enterprise reporting or the SQL part of it, that you can add value and add content to these reports very easily. So a key consideration is, and this is an important point, Office 365 SQL Server Integration Services OData add-on enables reporting services scenarios with Project Online. In MSDN, there's a great article that describes exactly the steps that you take that you can set that up. It requires SQL 2012 SP1 to use SharePoint 2013 features. Reporting options. Another reporting option is Visio Services, and you can have any kind of diagram. This doesn't relate to the Project Web App data, but you can. You can show diagrams that have a background of data that is connected to the images. And you can use this when you need to create data-connected diagrams using your PWA data. And you can share diagrams or data-connected diagrams in a central location for viewing in a web browser. Key considerations. Data refresh requires secure store or Kerberos constrained delegation, and it requires SharePoint Server Enterprise or SharePoint Online. Go ahead, question.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know if this is part of your presentation, so if it's not, feel free to roll over, but
okay.
I've never seen Visio Services. Can you kind of give a brief overview of what it is and how it connects? So like,
yeah, I'll just give you an overview. I don't have anything more than this, but I can just
a high level.
Yeah, just high-level description of it. So as it says at the top, you can have a Visio drawing, and in that Visio drawing, a regular Visio document or a Visio web drawing, and you can make connections to data sources. And so it's kind of like Project Pro and Project Server. So you build it in Visio, You get that report connected to the data. You get the diagrams to look the way you want to, and then you publish that report up to the web, and so that folks using their browsers can render that report and actually interact with it.
So, sorry, just to clarify. So would that be, for example, like if I have an Excel spreadsheet that I import to create an org chart, you're saying then I can upload that?
Well, you can, yeah, you can have the raw data available to you in, in the hierarchy that you need.
Yes.
And then, yes, you could show it,
Okay.
the hierarchy in Visio services. And performance point services. I used to do quite a bit with performance point. I haven't done that so much of late. You use that when you want to define KPIs and aggregations, weighting threshold configurations. Also, when you want to create things like filters,
Yeah.
it can be applied to across multiple dashboards and pages using performance point. So you can create a variety of reports, scorecards using multiple data sources. Key considerations. It requires SharePoint Server Enterprise. It supports effective user authentication for analysis, so it can identify you as the user, and you can filter to just information that pertains to you and your job. And it services data cubes, and it is available on premises only, so it's not available on Project Online. Okay, so lots of options. So kind of putting some of these things together. Project Web App views, what's available in Project Server versus Project Online. PWA views, of course, are available in both. Project Pro views, of course, they're available in both Project Online and Project Server on-premise. Same with Excel Power Query and Power Pivot. They're available both in Project Online and Project Server on-premise. Excel Web and OLAP, anything OLAP is available in Project Server on-premise, but not in Project Online. Power BI is available both in Project Server and Project Online. One caveat here with Power BI. Think of it, again, think of this is like Project and Project Server. You can use Project as a standalone, right? You can use Project as standard. You need Project Server. In the same way, Power BI can be used as a desktop tool without having a connection to the Power BI for Office 365 BI service. And then Performance Point is available and usable only with Project Server on-premise. So we got a lot of reports. Whatever the tool was used to create these reports, we've got one problem that I run into a lot, in fact, every time. And that is the CIO and other project stakeholders don't trust the PPM data. And it's the key reason why 40% of the projects that are started don't realize their planned benefits. So I'd like to go into a demo this time to show we can identify poor data and resolve it. So I'm in Project Server right now. Could be Project Online, but this is Project Server instance. And I'm the PMO director, and I have been confronted by the CIO and other stakeholders saying, yes, we see all these reports, but we don't believe the data is accurate. We can't make business decisions based on the information that we're showing. I have, with help, implemented a solution called the Project Maturity Scorecard Report. So I'm gonna, and I've created a link in Project Web App Home so that I can bring up this report. And as the report comes up, I'm gonna select a date and I'm going to apply. And I'm gonna remove this parameters pane divider so that I can see the entire report. Okay, so people have been complaining about the quality of the data. And this is a report that confirms to me, yes, there is a good reason to have doubts about the quality of the data. But I can see it by project. I can see way too many red cells. I want to turn those red cells into green to know that these projects are all in compliance with the PMO standards. For example, I'll just look at the first project, which is the acquisition target analysis. And I see a red cell attached to it, so I'm going to click on that cell. And it brings up a list of the tasks. Here, this was under actual work that is in the future. And I don't know how this happened. It could have been through, you know, an update process using, you know, % complete, so actual work got populated in the future, or people have been reporting time with actual work in the future, and we know that that's going to skew our resource demand and capacity reports. Go ahead, question?
Yeah, sorry, just so I can keep it in my head to know how we're doing this. Is this Excel services or SSRS?
So this is SSRS. Yep. Thanks for bringing that up. So here's the list of tasks. I'm going to go back to the report. And I'm going to scroll a ways to the right just to see another cell that is red, you know, as an example. So I'll click on the cell and brings up a sub-report. Again, we're inside this project, and we're looking at tasks here that are milestone tasks, true, task name, and have a resource manager. This PMO has a process where, okay, we're listing milestone tasks with at least one resource assignment. Best practices here is milestone should mark the end of a phase or the end of a summary task. That's all they should do. They should be 0-day duration, and they shouldn't have resource. And then just as a note, maybe for a new project manager, new to project, a milestone task is anything that is set to milestone equals true. It could have resource assignments, it could have duration. But the PMO is providing guidance here, a point that I'll show later. The PMO department may want to put more material in here, more robust material that identifies exactly what our processes are internally. You can use Word and insert images. You can do whatever you want over here with rich text to put guidance in for those PMs. So let's go back to the main report.
Sorry, just a clarifying question.
Yep, go ahead, another question.
This SSRS report, so you have the element drawing the data, and then on the right side you have more rich text HTML.
You're right.
Is that all of the web interface, or do you still need the SSRS client to push through and then put the images in?
Well, the users here, they just need to be members of a report viewers group, so they'll be able to see it using your browser.
Okay, but the reports still have to be done completely separate.
Yeah, yes. So the reports will be developed either in Visual Studio or in Report Builder. And by the way, these reports work out of the box with any solution because we're just using normal fields. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to PWA Home, and now I'm a project manager, and I've been asked by the PMO director to clean up some items on my projects. So as the PMO director did before, I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to go to the Project Maturity Scorecard report, and I'm going to select the date. And I'm going to, instead of seeing all of the project owners, I really want to just see my information. It's all about me. And so I'm going to select my name and apply. And I'll remove the pane divider, because we need all the real estate we can get. So now I'm just looking at my projects. And I'm the kind of project manager that I really don't like to see red associated with my name or my projects. And I'm kind of new to Microsoft projects, so I want to say I'm seeing these red cells, and I want to know what I need to do to turn them to green. Let's take an example. I'm going to look at the biothermal project, irradiating systems for helmets. And I see that there's a red cell that is indicating that I have remaining work scheduled in the past. So I'll click on that, and I'll see within the project the tasks that are the culprit tasks that have remaining work scheduled in the past, and it's a total of 88 hours. And I also am receiving from the PMO guidance on how I fix it in Project Pro. I'm going to go back to the report. And I'm looking at a cell going, oh man, it's, I'm showing 0% compliance with my baseline. I forgot to baseline my project. It should be baselined at this phase of the project. And no surprise now, because I see that there are, every task in my project there is included. But I'm also seeing guidance from the PMO department. In this case, they just took a screenshot of the help in Project Pro so that they could put it into this report, and it shows me what I need to do to baseline my project. So I'm going to go back to the report. And now I'm going to fix a couple things in my project. And I'll go through those other items in a minute that are included in this report. So I'm in Project Pro. I've got the biothermal project open. Now I'm going to check it out. And I'm going to do two things just to clean up some data. I'm going to go to the project tab at the top of the page. I'm going to set the baseline for the entire project this time. And I'm going to update the project. So I opened up Project Pro. I went to the project tab at the top of the page. I clicked the drop down under set the baseline, and I set the baseline for the entire project. And now I'm updating the project. So here, I'm rescheduling the uncompleted work to start after a date of my choosing. In this case, it is 3/15/2014. Save, get a message, and I'll publish. And I'll try to move this. Get this done. So it's 0% complete right now. We'll watch it progress. And now it's published successfully. So I'm going to go back to my report. Good. You're looking at what I'm looking at. That's encouraging. And I'm going to refresh this report. So I'm going to go over to, I'm just going to click F5 and refresh this report. And I'm going to select the current date. And I'm going to select just my name so I'll see my reports. Hide the parameters. Okay, so now for my biothermal report, I'm 100% in compliance with work remaining in the past. That's how simple it is. Baselining a plan just takes a minute, and I'm 100% in compliance. So we've got all these other items that I just need to go through, click in the cells that are red or yellow or even aqua, and I'll see which task I need to deal with, and it'll give me guidance on how to correct it. When this report is mostly green, I trust the data. On the CIO, I trust the data, and if it's mostly red, I don't. So the idea here is to keep it simple for the project manager. CIO doesn't need to see this report. It might be just the PMO department. Internally, we're just going to make sure that the data that we're reflecting is good. So the items that we're looking at, we have a count of the task in the project, the status date that we're using for earned value, actual work in the future, percent task not over allocated. That is a key one. Percent task auto scheduled. We want auto scheduled rather than manually scheduled because we know the project managers do not have time to manually update their schedules all the time. Baseline task, percent of tasks with links that are non-summary tasks. They should have them in these larger plans. You see an aqua-colored item here where non-summary tasks should have resources. If it's aqua, it actually has more resources than they should have. Always, it means that there are milestone resources that have milestone tasks that have resources. So we actually have more resource assignments in those non-summary tasks than we should have. Summary tasks with resource assignments. That's an important one because we want the totals of our data work and cost to equal the subtask and not be added to a summary task and a subtask that's going to skew our reports. Milestones with 0 days duration, tasks with no constraints. This is a common problem. Very often, there can be a lot of tasks in a project that have start no earlier than constraints. And a lot of times it's just because a project manager inadvertently changes a start or a finish date on a task. So this is just guidance that if you have constraints other than as soon as possible or as late as possible, that you really mean them. Time check. We're good. This last one, tasks with local resources. A few months ago, I was working with a customer and they said, you know what we want? We want a total in SSRS, a total of the demand of work by project in the coming months. And we want another tablet or table below that that has resource demand forecasted by month. They should be the same, right? And they wouldn't reconcile. I was off. And I spent hours trying to figure out what the heck, why wouldn't they be identical? And as I drilled into it, I found that, oh, we've got some projects that have local resources. It's going to total to the project for the demand, but it isn't going to total to the enterprise resources. So in this PMO requires that all resource assignments with work be to enterprise resources, not local resources. A couple more things about SSRS and this report back. And another question, go ahead.
Yeah, quick question. So with, or at least my experience with SSRS, it's kind of like a fancier access, right? You hook up the tables, you grab the fields, you break your connections.
That's right.
With Project Online, how, like, what is the database connection look like, and how easy is it to grab the feed? Because you're building right local versus enterprise. How are you? How is the interface showing those relationships?
Yeah. So for the folks online, the question is, how would we render this in Project Online with SSRS, and how would that work? So there is a tool that is used to take the OData and populate that into SQL data. And as I mentioned before, MSDN has a great series of steps that can be followed in how to set this up. And
so for an enterprise, our IT department would set up a SQL database to house all that old data.
Yes.
And so there's switches to that.
Yeah, so the database would just kind of replicate what is fed from OData. And then the SSRS reports would render that data. So just a little bit of back-end things. Here's where the Project Maturity Scorecard report lives, and in a SharePoint library. And I'm putting all these reports in the same library because I've got connections in between these projects. As you've seen, I can drill into the Project Maturity Scorecard, the main report, and bring up any one of these reports, and then it saves the parameters. So this is where we store them. A couple key features that point to the reason that I'm showing you SSRS reports. If I click the ellipsis to find out more information about a report, I can see a list of items, including Edit and Report Builder. So maybe the SQL things you want, the report developer to do and setting up, the tables and all, but when you want to edit with a free download, it takes a few minutes to download Report Builder. It opens up this report and all of the text and all the guidance that the PMO department would provide is right there for you to use, just like you're using Word.
But it's static, doesn't capture data that's in that module, right?
Yeah, unless you're a report developer, it would be good to leave the table side, and the red, yellow, green, and how they turn red, yellow, green until you have more experience. But the key is, and I have people doing this, the PMO folks know how to do this. They know how to have their input, and they put their custom processes in place here.
Can Power BI attach the same way to this? Or?
I can't wait to be able to prove the answer to that. It has a lot of power. And, as I said, what Power BI can do today, next month it's going to have some more features. But right now it comes close. But, how to get cells to change color automatically and follow rules like we do in SSRS, it'll be fun to find out. Haven't done it yet. There's so many other things that you can do now with Power BI. Okay, and another thing is manage subscriptions. So again, this is about saving time, having data accuracy, bringing people's attention to this information. So you can take for example, I'm a project manager. The PMO director has asked me to set up a subscription where I say, I just want to look at my projects on the project maturity scorecard. And I can, by subscription, I can say, okay, send an email to this person noon every Tuesday, and they'll get, and I'm going to also send one to myself to remind myself that I may have some red cells in there that I need to clean up. And so it could be a subscription that emails to a distribution list. It could be a subscription that loads this report up to my project site, and so that I've got a history of these reports over time. So there's different things that you can do with SSRS here that is very powerful. And back to the PowerPoint. So just a few more things about this report pack. It is designed to work out of the box for any organization because it uses standard fields. It consists of 13 reports, main scorecard, and then 12 additional sub-reports. It can be customized to your PMO standards. It works with Project Server from 2010 to now. It'll work in 2016 and Project Online with that SSRS enabler. It can be deployed in 2 to 3 days. If you work with us, it's a free item, as long as, if you purchase our consulting services. Okay, so this is just a note saying, yes, the Office 365 SQL Server integration services is enabled. Yes, another question.
I don't understand the Office 365 SQL Server integration. Is that O365 offering to have their own SQL Server, or would you still need your on-site?
Yeah, so that's where you would take that O data, and at some other location you would have SQL Server, and the data would be there.
I get that. I guess my question is Office 365 SQL like O365 the own SQL data space with the SQL Server, or would your IT still have to have a project?
Your IT department would probably set that up. So tips for keeping things simple. 3 minutes? Oh, okay. Okay, so a lot of people look at Project Server and they go, wait, this is way too complex for our people. It doesn't have to be. Key, obviously, is going to be train the project managers to improve estimating and forecasting skills. That's key. But also use a tool like this so that you can see easily the data that needs to be improved and the steps that need to be taken to improve it. Okay, we've mentioned a lot, being able for the PMO department to open up this report in Report Builder, put in whatever guidance you need, text and all. The report developers will manage this part, and along with the data sources and the queries and all. Use a subscription, as I mentioned before. Use smart templates. For example, using a template for each project type with a full RBS. It has realistic dependencies. It's populated with assignments to generic resources that are mapped roles. You can do a great deal of good for the PM by having smart project templates. The assignment units are already set. For example, you've got, on the average, a project manager manages 4 projects at a time. Well, then just default to assignment units of 25%, and they won't be over allocated, at the start of the project. Use historical project values if you can. Here's a key one that I would do. 10 minutes? Okay, good. Okay, this is how I would do it if I managed the team. I want to minimize my time, and I want to minimize my admin time for all of the people that are part of my project. As a project manager, I'm going to include team members and SMEs in the task estimating. They will have full knowledge of every task name that is going to be unique. They're going to be involved in the work estimate with me. They're going to know the dependencies. We're going to work on this together. I'll have, whether it's in a web meeting where I've got people around the world, or whether it's in a meeting like this, I'll have the resource usage view, task usage view, the Gantt chart view. I'll send out an email that has the resource assignments for each person so they can see this is what we've got. Now, what data points are we going to put in there? What work are we going to put in there? I'm going to baseline my plan. I'm going to publish the project so the assignments are pushed to timesheets. So I'm looking at a very robust PPM solution here. And for me, I'm setting up auto rules for auto accept the timesheet updates and the task updates. And I'm auto publishing the project. So I'm hands off of that project. But what I'm going to do is on a regular basis, I'm going to review the variances in that schedule because I've baselined, I'm going to see the variances. Whether I like them or not, I'm going to know what they are. And then I'm going to take action and deal with the team. I'm not going to be in that project plan for hours every week trying to make it look good. I want variances because I'm going to act with my team, and they're going to resolve the variances. So the team member is going to have input into all the tasks, as we said, the names, work, the dependencies, and also they're very familiar. When they go to the timesheet, they know all about the tasks that are on there. They're accountable for updating their assignments. It might be 15 minutes a week. It might be 30. If it is, it's worth the time. The reason is how many, project status meetings do you have? And they start with, well, what did you do since last week? And what did you do? We all know that. Everybody has put in their time. We know what the work is, what the remaining work is for assignments. I know what my assignments, I know the assignments that I'm dependent on. So we know all that. Let's talk about variances and issues that we need to resolve. Have PM approval to change the assignment remaining work to be more realistic. Now, this is where I'm going to have a real close conversation with each team member. You change your remaining work under these guidelines. Don't surprise me. But if we have an understanding, and I have great trust in you, that you're putting in important data, you might be changing the remaining work to a lesser amount. Good, my finish date's going to come in. You might be adding it, and it's going to go out. But if it's the best estimate that we have at the time, it's realistic. And when I see the variances come up, I'm going to deal with those. Another question?
Yes, in today's implementation of Project Online, is that auditable, the change of hours or the variance? But, if I'm on a task and you're the PM and then saying, yeah, I know we scheduled for 4 hours for this task.
Yeah, you can change the remaining work.
You change, but is it auditable? Does it show up anywhere? Can you report on that, or?
Through variances. Variances would be the way that you see those changes.
You kind of see the shift. You would
right.
call the person and the shift and the task.
Well, thinking out loud, the only way I would see that is if I, maybe took a MPP file, and saved it every week so I can compare, what happened to last week. Otherwise, it's really, the baseline for me, it's the current agreement that I have with my stakeholders as to the schedule and the cost of a project. So I'm not changing the baseline. I always want to know how I'm doing compared to the baseline. And then I'm going to work with my team to make things the way they need to. Or I'm going to ask for a bigger budget or more time. But I want to see those variances. They're important to me in managing the project. If mistakes are made and the timesheet periods are still open, you can recall the timesheet, resubmit. And the stakeholders and the managers, now they're going to trust the data because they know that the data source is the people that are doing the work. And it doesn't get any better than that. I have just one note about, it's a little bit into the details, but just a key thing that I see that impacts data accuracy. So I'm in Project Pro, and I'm in the task usage view. And I'm looking at a task that's going to be updated with % complete. And as you see, the work is going to start on the 21st of February, 40 hours of work, and I've got 8 hours of work each day in the week forecast. The resource actually works 8 hours on Friday the 26th, not 8 hours on Monday the 21st. With % complete, it's going to show that the actual work was on Monday, the earliest period, and it's going to show that the rest of the work is going to be done this current week, and next week, this resource is open for more resource assignments. The other part of this is, okay, maybe I don't do % complete, maybe I do actual hours by day. So in this example, same resource, 40 hours, what's scheduled for 8 hours each day of the week. But now I report time on the 26th, 8 hours there. And now I see that the remaining work is scheduled forward. Much like we talked in the project maturity scorecard report, we've got remaining work scheduled in the past. When people use the timesheet, this is what you're going to see, that the resource is really not available Monday through Thursday of next week, only available on Friday of next week. So how you update your assignments has a lot to do with data accuracy. So some key takeaways from this presentation. There's several enterprise reporting options for Microsoft PPM. Custom reporting can help identify poor data and provide guidance to resolve, as you saw. And best practices can keep things simple yet accurate. So thanks. That's the end of my presentation, but if there's any other questions, please bring them up. And Daniel, if anybody has a question online, anybody you see there?
There was a question online.
Okay.
This is more of a licensing question. The question is, so is Power BI included in 2016 and any of the earlier versions? Okay. And Molly's here, so that's perfect. I'll hand it off to you, Molly.
I don't have a mic, but the Power BI was the question, correct?
Yeah, here for the, I turned it on.
No, it's not included with Project Server or with a Project Online subscription. It's an add-on. And your company may actually already own it. A lot of companies have licenses or subscriptions of Power BI already that you can leverage. So I guess I would check internally first to see if anything's available. But there is a small additional fee outside of project for that.
Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Anything else, Daniel?
No, and the person said, thank you, Molly.
All right, thank you.